media.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. While Parliament still sits at a standstill, thanks to Justin Trudeau, who, by the way, is not in the House of Commons. He's off in Sugon. He can, most Canadians would say, he could sug on these nuts as he's over there wasting our time and fleeing from reality or fleeing from his obligations as a leader of a country. If you haven't been following the scandal that is going on with Justin Trudeau lately in terms of his green slush fund and the STDC ordering him to hand over all documents. Now, keep in mind, the NDP, the Bloc, and the Conservatives all voted in motion for Justin Trudeau and the Liberals to expose what their costs were, to provide the documents to the RCMP. If any conflicts of interest had occurred, then charges may be brought forward or repercussions for those conflicts of interest would be brought forward. We already know about Randy, whether it's him or the other Randy, what's happening. And we all know that when the Liberals want to continue to hide those documents from everyone, well, how do you say guilty without saying guilty? I mean, that's, if you got nothing to hide, why not just give them the documents? Well, today, or I should say yesterday, at the time of filming this video, Pierre was allowed back into the House of Commons after being barred for making comments about people chanting death to Canada in our streets. If you haven't checked out that video yet, go on back a day, watch that video. It's absolutely disgusting what happened over in Vancouver with pro-Hamas supporters or Palestinian supporters chanting death to Canada, death to America, and death to Israel. Now, Pierre Poilievre, of course, being allowed back into the House of Commons, comes in with some great talking points. They talk about slogans at one point, but we also have what's looking into and what's leading into how we're getting to our next election being called. Many people have said the NDP are never going to call an election. Jagmeet wants his golden parachute. I've said multiple times, as well as other channels, that he's kind of backed into a corner here. He does not have a leg to stand on when it comes to having to call an election. He either destroys his party outright to non-party status, or he takes the high road, and I think the high road is going to need to be traveled, because the reason this election will be called is, again, Justin Trudeau's irresponsible lack of acknowledgement to turn over these documents. The NDP have also called out for him to do that. Let's take a look at what Pierre says, and then we're gonna move forward a little.
Conservatives would have liked to be working today to counter the doubling of housing costs this Prime Minister has caused, or the record food price inflation, which has been 36% higher in Canada than in the US. But unfortunately, the Prime Minister has paralyzed Parliament by refusing your ruling directing his government to turn over evidence in the $400 million green slush fund scandal that the Auditor General says involves 186 conflicts of interest. Wow. With the chair of the fund found guilty, what has he got to hide?
Yeah. The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is not being truthful with Canadians. It is the RCMP Commissioner himself who said the RCMP's ability to receive and use information obtained through this production order and under the compulsory powers afforded by the Auditor General Act in the course of a criminal investigation could give rise to concerns under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It is therefore highly unlikely that any information obtained by the RCMP under the motion where privacy interests exist could be used to support a criminal prosecution or further a criminal investigation. Mr. Speaker, let's get this.
Now, I want to go back 1 second. If you take a look at Mélanie Joly, the smug look on her face, not to mention the look on most Liberals as they sit in the House of Commons while Karen here, Karina Gould, speaks up. Now, Karina, of course, comes out saying, hey, look, this is misinformation. This is all lies. Look, we want to start a committee. The reason they want to start a committee is because it goes nowhere. I mean, if you remember back last year, earlier this year, I had Stephanie Kusi from the Conservatives on the channel. We also had Garnet Jennis on the channel, where I asked them specifically, what is the point in all of these committees if no charges are going to be brought forward? And of course, they simply said, we have to get to the bottom of what's going on. We have to expose what happened. Those are the purpose of these committees. Charges usually don't come forward. It's up to the RCMP to make those charges. So what the Liberals want to do is essentially say, look, we want to go to committee where we can redact documents, where we can hide the truth from Canadians, where we can sit there and filibuster over and over and over again until everybody's sick of it. It's going to cost Canadians hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for us to sit in these useless committees. While Melanie Joly, who I can guarantee you is almost for certain one of our 11 compromised MPs, sitting back there with a smug look on her face like the Conservatives should just suck it and get over the fact that they've been ordered by the government of Canada, by the Speaker of the House, to give these documents. By not providing these, they are clearly pointing out just how damning and guilty those documents are. And as Pierre said, what have they got to hide? So let's take a look at what Pierre's response is. Let's back it up a bit. Let's take a listen to what Pierre has to say.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
This is a $400 million scandal involving Liberal appointees giving millions of dollars to their own companies, and the minister's story is now changing. Yep. Last week, she claimed that the government had given documents to the RCMP. This week, they claim that if they gave documents to the RCMP, it would cause the Charter of Rights to come crashing down. It sounds like there's a new story every week to justify paralyzing Parliament to cover up the truth. What is in these documents about this $400 million scandal that the Prime Minister is so afraid of?
So that question in itself tells you enough. Now, what are they afraid of? Well, they're obviously guilty. They're guilty as sin. The fact that the Liberal government is saying, well, it tramples the Charter of Rights. Can somebody in the audience maybe fill me in if I've missed the boat here, that when the last time the Liberal government cared about any Canadian's Charter of Rights, that now they weaponize it, that they use it to their benefit to say, well, hey, this is our rights. You can't trample our rights, but we can trample yours. We can freeze your accounts. We can trample you literally with horses. We can put forward emergency acts when we're not supposed to, and we can allow criminals to run rampant in our town without you allowed to defend yourself because, again, criminal code and Charter of Rights and our catch and release programs. Let's listen to the response.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Speaker, this is a typical witch hunt from the Leader of the Opposition to go after people who have nothing to do with this. These are files such as personnel files that contain private information of individuals who have nothing to do with what is going on. Mr. Speaker, it is the RCMP and the Auditor General themselves who raised concerns with this motion, and it is the government's view that we should send this to committee so that we can get on with the important work of this House and protect the rights of Canadians.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
A witch hunt. The Ethics Commissioner appointed by this government has found the chair of the fund in violation of the law. The Auditor General, also appointed by this government, says there were 186 conflicts of interest involving Liberal appointees giving millions of dollars to their own companies. $400 million. Potential criminality, according to the main whistleblower in the scandal. Any other employer would voluntarily turn over all the evidence to the police if it had been ripped off by its own staff. What is the Prime Minister hiding?
Again, the big important thing here is when you compare this to the sponsorship scandal, and again, a typical business. The government operates as a business these days. We all know that, they're bought and paid for by sponsors, just like any other company would by the people who line their pockets. But if you were to essentially shuffle money around, you think about how you run a corporation. If you shuffled money around by padding the pockets of those closest to the business while scamming the people who were buying your products, when it comes time to do your taxes or should you be audited, what are you going to tell the accountants when they come forward saying, hey, look, this money shouldn't be going to the places you're sending it to? these are criminal acts. A business isn't allowed to say, well, just don't give them the books. Don't tell them what we've done. I mean, lie for us, right? Tell them that it's against my Charter of Rights to tell them the criminal actions I've been doing. This is what the government's playing on. This is what's stalling Parliament. And by the way, costing us millions a day when we can't get anything done in this country. Not that it's a bad thing, given that Justin Trudeau's arbitrary bills against our actual Charter of Rights have been frozen in the process, but with the cost of it coming to Canadians, it's just as damning as if we were to move forward with his terrible bills.
The Honourable Leader of the Government in the House of Commons.
Mr. Speaker, if and when the police request that information, it will obviously be handed over because that is proper judicial process. But when it is Parliament that is doing it, this is where Canadians should be concerned, Mr. Speaker, because when he is going after the rights of other Canadians, it's only a matter of time before his political vendettas come after the rights of all Canadians.
So talking about coming after the rights of all Canadians is rich. Now, this continued to go on. In fact, you can even see it here where Minister Champagne attacks back at the Conservatives because, again, well, we're starting with slogans. They don't want to face reality. The Liberals are so out of touch. Let's take a look at this clip.
Costs are up, crime is up, time is up, and corruption is off the charts. A fish rots from the head down. So is it any wonder that Liberal cronies appointed to the Green Slush Fund by a Prime Minister twice convicted of ethics violations engaged in corruption? And this is not small corruption, Mr. Speaker. It's $400 million.
Only 9 minutes in question period, and slogans are up, Mr. Speaker. Slogans are up again. Canadians are sick and tired of them, Mr. Speaker, repeating the same false things, Mr. Speaker, and repeating the same slogan. What these Conservatives are about, Mr. Speaker, is going after the personal file of employees and former employees. They're targeting STDC today. Who are they going to target tomorrow? That's what on this side that I have. We stand for democracy. We'll stand for rights. We'll stand up for Canada.
Pretty simple who we're targeting, Mr. Speaker. We're targeting corruption, corruption that they enabled, corruption that they're hiding, and corruption that they refuse to produce the documents for.
How much more clear can you get than that? Now, as the tweet states, pop goes the champagne cork. The slogans are coming. I mean, again, I'm willing to bet Minister Champagne is one of those compromised 11 MPs in the House of Commons. To sit and say that Canadians are sick and tired of the Conservatives. I beg to differ. If you look at the current polling rates, the Conservatives have a 20-point lead the last time I checked over the Liberals. What are we doing here? I mean, the questions come forward to even Jagmeet Singh. And this is where, again, if you've hung in this long, I apologize for the lengthy video. I want to make sure all the bases are covered. But let's take a look at what happens to Jagmeet Singh, because he comes out to virtue signal. While he's got his head all wrapped tight and his brain depleting oxygen by the second from it. People, even in the prostitute media gallery, have to ask him, what are you going to do to get the House back on track, to get business moving again in the House of Commons? Because keep in mind, this is the man who could, well, first off, this is the man who doesn't know a sack of potatoes versus a sack of apples. And second of all, he also said that he had torn up his agreement with Justin Trudeau in terms of their coalition government, which wasn't a coalition, even though it was a coalition. But now he's stating that, well, he tore up that agreement, but now he's back in and he doesn't know which way he's going. He's flip-flopping. Sellout Singh is looking for whoever's going to pad his golden parachute. Let's take a look to his answer.
He hasn't answered the question. What are you willing to do to get the House business back on this table in Parliament? Right now, we're just dealing with this debate. What are you willing to do? Are you willing to work with the Liberals to give them a time allocation? How will we get back to parliamentary business?
So right now, the Liberals have to do two things. And we support making sure the government's held to account. They've got to release documents, release the documents. There's nothing that stops them from releasing those documents. They should move ahead and release those documents. They should be held to account. And secondly, the issue that relates to Minister Boissonnault. Absolutely, he should be held to account, and his colleagues should be held to account and brought before Parliament to explain why he's not justifying these text messages that make no sense. So the ball is in the government's court. They could do the right thing, move forward on accountability, and Parliament can move ahead. It is also very clear, and you're absolutely right to critique the Conservatives. They are, as one of my House leader says, agents of chaos. No interest in letting Parliament work, no interest in ensuring that people get any help, no interest in seeing bills move forward. That's true. But the Liberals should just provide the documents and ensure there's accountability and we can move forward.
What? What? Jagmeet Singh says the Liberals should give the documents, but then that the Conservatives shouldn't be agents of chaos asking for those documents, and that they're the ones holding up Parliament. Is this guy nuts? I mean, what are we doing, Jagmeet? What are we talking? You can't. In the dictionary under redundant, it says see redundant. I know I've used that joke before, but my God, Jagmeet Singh, you can't blame one group and then blame the other in turn. What's happened here and where this is going to come back to bite Jagmeet. A lot of people can sit and say, hey, Derek, he's not going to call an election. He's not going to push anything forward. What he's brought up here are 2 points that, again, will be held against him in the future. As he has said, his party believes that the Liberals should hand over those documents. We all know that Justin isn't, that he's refusing to. We all know he's never going to. So when it comes to the Bloc, when it comes to the Conservatives saying we're calling an election because he didn't hand over the documents, here's the problem. Jagmeet Singh has boxed himself into a corner. So he either gets in line and supports the next vote of no confidence based on that merit, or else his party's destroyed, because everyone will come to him then and say, hey, you said they had to give the documents, but then you voted for them not to call non-confidence for not producing the documents. So which is it? His party will be obliterated. It already is. But this is damage control. This is Jagmeet Singh essentially deciding if he's going to absolutely demolish the NDP's party status, which is broke, by the way. They have no money to even run an election. Is he going to demolish it, or is he going to back up his own words with his mouth? Talk the talk, walk the walk. Your guess is as good as mine. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. What do you think about Trudeau stalling Parliament and going to Sugon for multiple days? Probably to go surfing is my guess, because he certainly doesn't care about doing his job. He's made it very clear that he doesn't care about politics right now. All he cares about right now is free birth control and dental coverage for people, while essentially the country burns, literally. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think we're going to see an election? Do you think they should hand over the documents already? How long do you think Trudeau is going to keep the House adjourned from doing business? Again, I've heard rumors that it's going to go into the new year at this point. Let me know what you guys think down below. If it's your first time here, I hope this long video has earned your subscription, as we're moving our way very quickly up to 50,000 subscribers. I would love to see if we could hit it by the end of the month. We're averaging about 1,000 a week, so it'd be great to see that crank up and see you guys join our large Fringe majority here on the channel. Make sure while you're doing so, hit the bell for notifications. Join me live here on the channel each and every Friday night for Friday Night Fringe, where not only myself, but the beautiful Mrs. Fringe, my wife, sits down with us to talk about everything that's happened this week in politics, everything coming up in the week ahead, and some back and forth within our community. I always look forward to hearing what you guys have to say outside of these streams, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of you this Friday night starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.